Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Happy Politics, the Bipartisan Edition. We have on my lovely co-host here, Mr. Q Sim. How you doing, Mr. Q Sim, in the background?
Oh man, I'm just trying to stay with as bipartisan as possible. You know, you always got to reach across the aisle. So here's me extending my hand to you, sir.
In an extension for unity across the board.
We gotta,
good work today.
yeah, we gotta reach across the aisle. But hey, man, you know how it is. But now, man, everything's going well, man. How about yourself?
Man, just trying to catch up on everything that's just been going on. Well, actually, I'm not catching up. I've been just up to date. I'm just like, goddamn, where do we even start, man? By the time of this episode, Republicans are already going over there trying to maneuver or put the suave moves on Mr. Biden to try to get him to come down on that coronavirus package hard. The watered down package already that, depending on who you ask, 1,400, 2,000, which is it?
Either way, it's still not enough, bro. Like that's the funny part. It's okay. So let's just think about this. I read something earlier, and of course it was a headline. I got to go fully through the story, but it said that workers overall in the U.S. lost about $3.7 trillion with a T. But the wealthy people gained about 3.5. So, but we're gonna spot you, a couple $100 here and there.
Yeah. Anybody see anything wrong with that shit, bro? Like it's just the most disingenuous bullshit. I haven't really been arguing with people on Twitter as much because I'm just like, man, this is I don't really know.
It's pointless. Like trying to argue with people on Twitter is like basically you might as well just yell at the wall. That's there you go.
But Twitter ain't no different. I mean, Reddit ain't no different from the rest of them because you still got. And for some reason, I didn't get sucked into Twitter, but I got sucked into Reddit for some fucking reason. I don't like how it's like. Well, I mean, technically, $2,000 is better. But what's the big deal? I mean, it's better than nothing, and it's like, bro, he basically he campaigned on $2,000 when people were already getting their cash.
Yes. I mean, you think I hate that notion that it's better than nothing, and it's like, no, nah. Sometimes nothing is just as good because think about this. How many? I forgot. It was like a lot of money. Basically, I think there was a study, and towards the end of last year, and it said. Now I have to follow up on it to see if the numbers are legit, but as far as if it actually came to fruition, but around the fourth quarter of last year, they were basically saying that your average person is probably going to owe about $5,000 in back rent. I don't know why people think that this was a game or that these numbers were just fabricated or man, people can work but they just chose not to, and it's like the reality was a lot of people weren't working these tech jobs or these everybody's not a doctor or anything along those lines. Large majority of the workforce is in the service industry because we don't have manufacturing here like that anymore. So people had to switch over to another job, which will be your service industry that we woefully disrespect every day, and don't believe they should get paid anymore because you don't want to pay 10 cents extra on your burger or something goofy like that. Even though they always made right now the Big Mac costs $7 and people are still getting paid shitty. So there you go.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a complications when it comes to situations like that. I think we'll touch on. I don't know if you want to touch on the Robin Hood situation and the
Power to the people.
complications around power to the people. Go ahead and get them hedge fund managers, man. Fuck them motherfuckers. But yeah, at the current state of affairs when it comes to the coronavirus, looks like as far as I can tell, the White House and Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, have rejected the offer. I have no information on when they're going to go ahead and vote on the package, but one of the biggest holdouts that's going to end up being a roadblock is Joe Manchin with his hatred of giving you higher wages when you're already not making shit.
Yeah. Look, Joe, I don't know. What is everyone's disdain with poor people? Like, I don't get it. It's like, hey, you're poor. We understand. But screw you, you did that yourself. That's pretty much how Joe is acting. It's like, and even then, how ridiculous is it that your Republican governor is saying, bro, please, not this time, man. We get it, but this ain't the time for that, being tight on the coin purse. Please go big.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous, bro. Like, I would understand like if we were back into the conversation about when Republicans were talking about corporate liability shield, but it's like, okay, so you want to give people a higher wage, big motherfucking deal. Oh my god, what the fuck is still really happening? Like, I still have not to this day heard his argument for that, especially when like there are record profits through the roof. I mean, if you remember, his daughter um who's heavily involved in the pharmaceutical industry. You probably remember that story from way
Yeah.
back when she raised prices astronomically high for, I believe it was the EpiPen, and
Yeah.
the whole justification that she provided at the time was just that this was planned for quite some time, and was needing money for research purposes and all that. Like, whatever kind of bull that she was coming out of her mouth, man. It's like, bro, like you guys are already an insanely profitable company. Like, stop it.
Yes. Nah, man. But Eric, though, we can make more money if we just raise the price. Huh? Huh? And I know you think we
Yeah.
shouldn't raise the price, but hear me out. We should. you know?
Yeah. Yes. Remember, we are a for-profit corporation by default, and our first goal is to make sure that we make money.
Yes.
That is the first goal.
Go. Gotta protect the monies, fam. You know that.
Now, I will say that, like, if some people's concerns are that $15 an hour in and of itself won't necessarily fix the issues when it comes to wage inequality, I would agree with you.
Yes.
That is not necessarily a reason to stop $15 an hour. If you wanna say, hey man, $15 an hour is not won't address the issues of wage inequality. Oh, okay, cool. Then what are you trying to tell me? You want $15 an hour? Oh, you want to raise it to $20 an hour? Do you want to tack on a UBI? You want an expansion of like the SNAP program, like Quentin has talked about in the past?
I think there is going to be the need. We need more because the funny part about 15 an hour is we were talking about 15 an hour back in like 2012. Like that's a long time ago. So 9 years ago, 15 would have potentially have been substantial, and you probably would have been able to function off of that. But when we're looking at the situation now, like what 15 an hour piece you about what 2,400 a month or somewhere around there. I think people still have to pay rent, bro. Like it's weird that we're still talking about this stuff, and the excuse will always be, well, price is going to go up. Well, price has already risen. Like that's okay. So you're saying price is going to go up when it has? That's not an argument. That's just observation in this case. So you're saying we got another problem with people constantly raising the price of things so they can extract as much money from people at one time. Okay, we need to do something about that too. But I think if I remember correctly, yeah, 15 an hour is 2,400 a month before taxes. So that's 30 something a year, I think.
Yeah, that's not shit. Ugh.
Let me see. Hold on. 15 times. Let's say you're lucky you get 80 hours. Every 2 weeks times two times 12. Yeah, that's only $28,800. That's not including minus taxes, and if you're lucky to get health care, and the cost of health care, even at your job, is about still what, $200 to $300, not including deducting those costs either. So the reality is, we in America have created too many bills. We
I mean, when you think about like 20% of our income goes to insurance,
Mhm.
and subpar insurance just like on top of that. I mean, you got the insurance, you got your retirement plan, you got whatever benefits that may come out of that. So it's a lot of expenses, and I mean there's just no justification for it. I mean, there's money. There's money. I mean, hell, the healthcare industry has made record profits off of it. So like, there's a lot of money to go around. People like want to complain about, well, there's not enough money going on. Or what about small businesses? So we there have been people who have advocated for subsidizing small businesses for a period of time during this transition. I mean, that's totally fine. I mean, eventually you will have to like phase out. But if I wouldn't necessarily support that measure 100%. I may have to like rethink on that one because big corporations have for the longest time received government subsidies in the form of
Mhm.
like Social Security, SNAP, and all that because they underpay their employees and they have to. Some of them are forced to have to rely on government programs. So in a way, they have not directly been the benefactors of government subsidies indirectly though. So it's like, well, why can't you like fund small corporations on top of that? Like, my mind is at now, like to cap it off after a certain time period for it to sunset, maybe a decade or so. But if they were to extend it further than that, I might be willing to hear that out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It's there has to be ways to kind of figure all this stuff out. And it's actually so funny that you mentioned, like, us basically having to cover supplement everybody with food stamps. So I remember back in apparently in 2013, there was a flyer at a McDonald's called McResources, where people can basically go sign up for SNAP benefits. That like,
I
so
do remember.
yeah, so basically McDonald's and actually funny, like McDonald's and Walmart, their employees are, I want to say, they have the most employees on these benefits, or at least a large amount of their employees are on these benefits, which that tells you everything right there. But we didn't want to berate these people because they have to have them in order to just survive day to day. Um, I don't know. It's like it's weird when you have to explain this stuff to people because everybody will say, well, you should have just got a better job, and it's like, well, you do realize we don't really have a lot of industries in the United States like that anymore, right? Like, as far as like, you don't, not really. um and so if you have to fall into the service industry, which is also a funny thing, your boy Rand Paul, shout outs to him, who basically said that I think Joe Biden's plan, I oh yeah, him raising the $15 minimum wage would put a lot of young black teenagers out of work. But
Oh my
and it's like, okay, first of all, Rand, stop it. That's not true. And if that is true, then you're actually pointing to a lot of racial aspects because the large majority of workers in McDonald's are white, and black teenagers make up the smaller percentage. And so you're saying they're going to let them go first? Then again, it's also Rand. Are you saying that black kids have to work to help supplement the cost of living for their parents?
I mean, it's something definitely that like happened to this day right now. I mean, you got like big brothers, big sisters, going out there and like looking after their siblings, their younger siblings. So hey, parents need somebody to like take care of the kids. Sometimes it has to be a kid taking care of another kid.
Yeah, and even
But it
then,
is.
he's hitting at a problem that also exists is that kids have to go to work to help pay bills for their parents. You can't be a kid anymore because you got to get to the workforce, bro. You got to, hey man, light bill due, and mama and daddy don't make enough.
It's just so it's just so ridiculous. And like for some people who may be like listening to this thinking like, well, this doesn't really seem like a very bipartisan thing to really like be talking about. It sounds like you guys are extremely biased. What I would argue is that it depends on what we're talking about. And if what we're talking about here is we have some set of values that we need to work towards, and if somebody else on the other end doesn't have those shared values, and we can work towards that some shared goals, then why the fuck should I? I mean, for example, if we're gonna talk about bipartisanship, we can go ahead and start talking about the whole fucking. How do I want to phrase this? Do I want to say Jimmy Dore? Do I want to say white
Oh,
supremacist? I'm not saying Jimmy Dore is a white supremacist. Please have that very clear. I'm
yeah.
talking about his Boogaloo brother.
Mm. Yeah, his homie. Yeah, that was a interesting interview. Or I don't even want to say. Can we say interview? I guess it was interview. It wasn't a debate, so nowhere close to a debate. Uh, yeah, interview. I guess is nice or powwow. That's what we'll go with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay. So I know like there's a lot of people like contemplating like whether or not you should like work with people on the other side, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that on its face. It's when you start, you have to go about and evaluate what are their underlying intentions, values, what is their end goal, and whether or not those line up with what yours are. And what I find to be a big issue, before I looked at anybody else's takes on the interview, like immediately when I started watching this interview, I was like, dude, this dude is like fanboying so fucking hard over
Yes.
this guy. He's not, at best, he asked a question about are the rumors or reports true
Uh,
about a Boogaloo brother shooting two cops? To which he doesn't. If you pay attention to that interview, he goes about it the right way. Magnus, the one he's interviewing,
yes.
says that there are some people out there who do some bad things, and that's not what I would have done. That's cool and dandy.
Hmm.
But the issue that I had was that's not really a condemnation as much as tactfully speaking, that's not what I would have
Yeah, I think the issue that I took with that is here's the thing. There's the group as a whole, and then there's the individual. You can say that I don't know. Let's think of another extreme. Uh, damn. Okay, you can say that you had some nice slave masters back in the day. They didn't beat their slaves. They fed them, put them in nice clothes, and actually treated
done.
them kindly. However, the institution as a whole is not to be celebrated. So just because Magnus can say, "Oh well, yeah, you got some," of course he has to downplay it, but generally, when you see the reports, they have done a lot more, you know, throughout the like you've seen them being a part of you know going to some of the Black Lives Matter marches, and then you have to start asking questions like, well, why are they there specifically? A lot of people say, oh, they're there to protect property, and it's like, well, why or how are they able to take that into their own hands? But then you also look at it as like people lie. I mean, and even if you want to say he's not lying, they put him out there because he's a good representative. Of course, you're gonna put the person who can be more relatable out there as your spokesperson.
This is exactly what they were doing, and I'm trying to remember whether it was on Discord or 4chan, but there were excerpts of chats where they were specifically going out of their way to like figure out how to integrate into these different groups in order to be able to get out their message.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I think that a lot of progressives need to like get out, have to be very, very, very careful of is you have the best of intentions of trying to do whatever it takes to get your programs passed, like Medicare for all. But if you take the by any means approach on every single scenario, and to the point where you're willing to align yourself with people who don't share your same values, you can very easily become exploited. In the interview with Jimmy Dore, one of the things that was irritating me, he sort of ended it with it's kind of Republican and a Democrat issue. It's a issue of class, and I'm just thinking to myself, the whole time y'all actually never talked about labor, and he's a libertarian, so it's very likely that he is very anti-labor,
Oh
and you want
yeah,
to align yourself with that person who is antithetical to both your views on labor, but also your views when it comes to Medicare for all.
yeah. I mean,
So
it's because I also found it funny that they took it. They went out of their way to say that they were also pro other movements like you know Black Lives Matter or yeah, nah, man. Yeah, I'm pro LGBTQ. I'm not exactly all the way straight myself. It's like, oh, I see what you did there. I see what you're trying to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, but the way that he was describing it, and I've been hearing this term a lot, is they were a what are they? Anarcho capitalist, I think is the actual term. Is that
well, I'm a little
anarcho
confused.
something? Shoot. So you're technically an anarchist, but you're also a capitalist at the same time, or something like that. Which
That is, I have never heard of that before,
yeah,
but I'll have
so
to do some more research on
yeah, I
this
had to
one.
look at. I had to make sure I probably missaid it, but basically, a lot of people will basically say that it's pretty much a fake term. It's a made up term to make people, make people believe you're really an anarchist, but in reality, what you're trying to do is to pretty much set yourself up as the in charge of the system versus actually trying to dismantle it, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, because I've never met an anarchist who is like pro capitalism. I
mm-mm.
mean, is it maybe possible? I don't really know because like anarchists are
Yeah, any kind of
usually
hierarchy.
against system. Yeah, usually. So no, I don't necessarily buy that. Going back to like your what you were saying about him being in support of Black Lives Matter, and I immediately I immediately didn't. You know, I don't know what I don't immediately know what I was thinking when I first got into the interview and he was saying that um, Boogaloo Brothers showed up to the protest to do security. Um, I just remember that felt very suspect. That okay, well, what does that really mean? You showed up to do security. Did somebody like recruit you? Did somebody tell you to like show up or something like that? There was a guy by the name of Ryan Teacher, and I think you probably remember from our text exchange about who Ryan Teeter was. He's also another member of the Boogaloo Brothers. So what he was saying was the point of them showing up to the Black Lives Matter protest was to do security because they got reports that there were some white supremacists.
Yeah.
White supremacists. I'm sorry, members of the KKK, white supremacists, who who was supposedly going to attack them, and they showed up because of that. Coincidentally, and this is kind of the thing that you gotta like be very careful of when it comes to Magnus and Ryan Teeter. Like when I was looking at Ryan Teeter, I'm gonna be honest, like I saw him and I was like, oh, it seems like a non-radical dude or whatever, kind of chill. Like I see Magnus was over there trying to like be all charming and shit, and I was like, no, like I already had like a bad perception of the Boogaloo Brothers beforehand, and you trying to like charm me saying that I'm not all the way straight. That's not working for me. But when I saw Ryan Teeter, I was like, it's like, oh, he's kind of cute. And then when I did a quick Google search, I was like, oh shit, that's the person said that he was trying to work with Hamas. So okay, you baby switch motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing though. It's like, so I don't know, if you listen to that video that I sent you about the Boogaloo Boys, and I think Thought Slime was the one that made the video, and how pretty much it was a movement created from memes. And this weird thing is that Boogaloo, for the most part, I know he tried to say, oh, it was because of this bad sequel, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But it really has a lot to do with another civil war, which is weird. It's like, I find it weird about a lot of different Americans. Like, everybody's prepping for the next civil war. And it's like, why are y'all niggas always ready for destruction? Like, what is wrong with y'all?
Yeah, I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding that shit. It's just so. I mean, it is some sense of me wanting to like look forward to like the revolution that comes when we finally achieve like Medicare for all and like a decent social structure, social welfare program or some shit like that. I mean, sure, but like in a sense of like an actual civil war, I mean, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
That sounds
That sounds horrible. Like, hey, we ran out of bread at the grocery store. Damn it. Get the guns, kids. It's like, what? It's like,
shit, man. No quarter. This is bullshit.
yeah, shit. Hey, look, we gotta clip up. We gotta go, baby. It's like, damn, really? Like, it's like we can't just talk this one out. Nope. Okay, I guess. But
almost in a way, it would be kind of like admirable because it's like, damn, like rampant capitalism. Damn, this pack of bread was like just $1 last week. Now this fucking bread is like $10. Clip up, motherfuckers! Rampant capitalism. We gotta rob this motherfucker. It's like Jesus.
Yo, man, it's now that would be hilarious but terrible at the same time. I don't know. It would be like, damn, that's rather extreme. Like, yo. But I guess this also shows Jimmy. I don't really know what to say about Jimmy Dore. It's like he's hit or miss with me. Like there's a lot of times where I just really disagree with Jimmy Dore's take on things. I'm like, nah, Jimmy, that ain't it, bro. I think you really reaching on this. And then there's other times where you get like, okay, I see where you're going. Kind of like forced to vote. The idea I agree with. His approach, on the other hand, I don't. I think we talked about that last time. And so even then, if you want to try to see if it's possible to work with someone across the table or across the aisle, but when you start talking to him and you're like, the problem is he didn't really vet the guy. Like he didn't really have any hard hitting questions. He didn't really conduct the interview. He didn't really push back on anything. And I think with that though, the problem that happens is his guest sees that as well. And unless his guests are really thinking through the process, they're going to assume that dudes like Magnus are fine. They're cool. Maybe we can, kick it with these dudes because Jimmy showed that they're fine. And what you end up doing is you end up trying to, I would say humanize, because that sounds terrible, like they weren't at first, but you kind of soften the blow of their movement to an extent. And should it be that way? I don't I don't like to think that that's how it is, but unfortunately, that's how a general audience really reacts to information. It's like, well, if the interviewer thought it was fine, then hey, you know what? It's all good.
Well, I know like a lot of people may like go say like, people need to like make up their minds and like this is just like an opinion, or they'll like go to the beginning of the interview where Jimmy Dore did this little weird ass disclaimer that like it's
Oh,
not an endorsement of
yeah,
the group.
it's not
That
an
this person
endorsement,
is one representative.
and I'm sure this is going to be used to
Yeah,
attack me. Yeah, oh no, Jimmy, what you're trying to do is you're trying to remove
yeah.
yourself from media responsibility if this gets used in a negative way. We know what you're doing,
That's,
Jimmy.
that's exactly what was happening. I mean, hell, even Harlan's media was coming out and saying it was just one person. And I'm just like, dude, like this is way more than just like a matter of one person. It doesn't matter whether or not you endorse this message. It matters whether or not the guy gets his message out. And what was obvious was there was no vetting coming from. Not only was there no vetting, there was no background information as far as the communications between them, as far as like what their past events were. It was way worse than just like there was a cop shooting,
Yeah.
where like a guy had shot two police officers. It was literally integrating themselves into movements with the intent to instigate and incite a civil war. This has not only been demonstrated through several of their communications, but this has been published in several articles. The Department of Justice, remember if, when I talked about Ryan Teeter,
Mm-hmm.
they had discovered that he was trying to reach out, he was trying to coordinate with Hamas because, as what they put it, because Hamas has a goal to the destruction of the government, or at least Ryan Teeter perceived as such that they were a destruction of the U.S. government. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted to align themselves with them as long as it meant that the Boogaloo Brothers can get their goals accomplished. And this is the danger of Jimmy Dore doing this, is that you may not necessarily intend this. You may not be endorsing that idea,
Mm-hmm.
but your dumbass is sitting there letting him talk to your audience, and some of your audience has crossover into the left wing movement, and that is potential. That is very, very dangerous,
Yes.
especially when like you're talking about all that. You had all Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, and it's like this dude, without so many words, he said he does not support um, Medicare for all. Now he didn't say it in the exact words, but
Mm-hmm.
he did not come out and say that he was in support of a socialized Medicare for all system or any kind of social system. He he rolled the middle ground. It's like, well, I kind of come back and forth on that, and the only thing he does not like is the government and healthcare mixing, or government and private entities mixing. But that doesn't really answer the question that you posed to him, and you didn't have that same energy for him as you would have for people
On the left.
who are, yeah, on the left, who are ostensibly your allies. They may have a strategic disagreement, but ostensive, ostensibly they are your allies, and they're all reliable votes. They just disagree with you on how to go about it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but no.
I mean, but that's some of the issues I've had with. That's why I was like, man, this whole force to vote. I get the notion, but this is the only time, one of the few times I agree with my girl girlfriend from another reality, um, Brianna Joy Gray. Is I get the idea, I get it, believe me. However, I don't think the approach is to attack everyone else who doesn't really understand how this works. Because I mean, that's just now we're just talking about differences of strategy. Maybe of some kind of off-air meeting that isn't used for either side to kind of get any kind of airtime, but just kind of say, hey man, look, let's get something together, all of us leftists, and kind of strategize to see how we can best get some of these things really pushed through. And then we reach out to these people who are supposed to represent us in Congress, and we then tell them this is what we want, this is this is what we think needs to be done, and then you hash it out that way. That's me personally. I know it might be a slow grind though, but I also understand, if you can use social media buzz, it can potentially help. But hey, it just looks like there's a lot of, it just feels like everybody's kind of pretty much, gnawing at each other's face. And that's not kind of what you want to represent in the public space, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, there's too much internal turmoil, and there needs to be some consensus on it. And I'm of the perspective that I don't necessarily know if this is constructive or even something that should be like entertained. I think like this actually should be like widely condemned by the entire community, which it largely is. It's just you got a few people within our circles who's like, well, why don't we just like talk to these people? And I'm like, because they don't have the same goal as they want to abolish the government. You want to set up a
Yes.
social. That's what was like irking me about like hard limbs. It's like, what does force the vote have to do with this? And I'm like, dude, you want to set up a socialized Medicare for all program. They want to abolish the government.
Yes, those two.
So
No, go ahead. My bad.
Nah. I mean, you was about to.
Now I was gonna say just those two things don't connect with each other. Like one, they don't help each other. It's kind of like when Joe Biden said he worked with segregationists, but he then tries to claim that he's not racist. It's like, well, Joe working with segregationists ain't helping it, right? Because obviously, I don't think there's a middle ground there. But that's a whole other discussion. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, shit. If you were to hear that, if you took a moment out and just like heard that Joe is in favor of, what's something that's radical that he's previously said that he's shown throughout his record that he doesn't support Medicare for all. Hey, yes. I support Medicare for all. People be like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, I know a lot of people be like, okay, that's cool, but what the fuck does that? Because you spent your whole life pretty much being an adversary to Medicare for all. Now you're all of a sudden, what if you would have came out and say, I'm in favor of abolishing the police? That'd be the biggest red flag. Because I'm like, okay, yeah, no. I know that's not Joe saying that.
I know that's not Joe, and I know it's not Kamala. Nope. What y'all up to? Even though it was funny, because I think didn't Joe say something along the lines during when he was campaigning, like, no, I don't believe in Medicare for all. We should have a single payer type system. It's like, interesting, Joe. Tell me more. You know.
But yeah, this is what we mean about like dispelling this notion of this false bipartisanship, because it's just like, dude, like what are our values and what do we want to like go with it? Not just reaching out for the sake of reaching out. It was actually Quentin who brought this up to me. If you remember Bernie's CNN interview, can you like take a minute to like describe to the folks what was going on in this interview?
Oh man, yeah. So they put the whole, I forgot the woman's name, but anyways, she's interviewing Bernie, and he's talking about the budget reconciliation tactic in order to get something pushed through, such as the COVID protection plan or the COVID relief plan. I'm sorry, but she did turn around and say, "Well, didn't you criticize Republicans for doing the same thing in 2017 or?" during Trump's administration? But it was like, wait, hold up. They used that to get billionaires a tax cut, or the 1% a tax cut. We're trying to use this to give people relief. These two things are not the same. So but it comes off as, and what I think is it really confuses the audience, because then they just look at the tactic versus the context of what is being done. And I think you brought that up to me during when we were having a discussion. And unfortunately, you have to play this to the audience to where they can fully understand these things. Now, some people may not come to that conclusion, like, hey, one of these things are not like the other. One, I agree with, the other, I don't. Versus saying, see, Bernie's a hypocrite. And so it's just weird how, mainstream media will kind of take that approach to this whole situation.
Yeah, and she knew exactly what she was doing. You're talking about Dana Bash. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't trying to like discuss the merits of like which one was legitimate and which one wasn't.
Yeah.
She was trying to like play this hypocrisy burn bullshit of just like, see, Bernie, oh yeah, you said previously that you didn't support using budget reconciliation. Now you are. Can you explain? It's like, dude, like one is clearly not like the other. And like you trying to like sit here and take this backseat bullshit, like see, you're trying to do, you a hypocrite. Nah, it's like, bro, like my nigga. First of all, like you just exposing yourself. Like at minimum, you're either like okay with the current circumstances when it comes to like the Trump tax cut and Obamacare being abolished and all that, or nearly being abolished, or you're just kind of like impartial to it. Like you're either impartial, like partly okay with it, and that may not be that might not be like how you truly feel, but that's how your lack of clarity in your coverage. That's what it portrays accidentally to your audience.
Yes, and that's the problem, because I'm not saying that you have to treat the audience like they're slow or anything like that, but audiences need context. And that is the problem. And even then, let's just go ahead and run into this whole bipartisanship stuff. I think we've discussed this before, but the idea of bipartisanship is to assume that there are equally equitable options on both sides of most, if not all, discussions. And we know that's not true. Again, I'll pose the questions similar to what I asked Eric before. All right, cool. Find me the bipartisanship when it comes to women's health and or abortion. Is it do women get abortion allowance like a punch card? Like you get like, hey, you only get 4 per 20 years or something like that? Where's the middle ground?
Yeah, and this is not necessarily to like, for people who are like listening to this, they may take away from it like, oh well, the media is just trying to tell you how to think. It's like no, it's to educate you on a few things. So like for example, tax cuts. The whole point of the whole trickle down model of like charge companies less taxes, therefore the money will trickle down.
Which hold up, has been factually never ever occurred in the existence of humanity. But go ahead, continue.
That is exactly what I was going with. Nah, right on the head, bro. Because like it's like, bro, like one is not like the other. One is full of shit. The other one can actually put some actual real money in your pocket.
Yes. And so here's the thing. When people enjoy their time the most, like those boomers who always then want to come back and say we don't work hard enough, they don't realize they enjoyed one of the best economic situations that was at the time. And you want to know how we were able to attain it? The wealthy people got taxed like they should have been. That's how you were able to enjoy all the stuff that you love. I mean, that's in the story.
Yeah, so you have to like bring about. That's the whole concept of why the minimum wage actually exists, though it's tied to inflation. But that's what minimum wage is, because like if you have you have to imagine like you're telling a person who is a CEO or whoever of a for-profit corporation to just pay you more because what, based off of your skill set, your education. That's not really an incentive. That's not even really like something that you can use as leverage, because unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the market looking for jobs, and you're just somebody along a long ass list of people. And if I don't like what you got to say, I can just go somewhere else to another. Just like how people pretend as though they can just like, oh, I can just take myself and go to another company and like let them let them battle it out for my skill set, my experience. Just like that, the companies can do that also as well, except they have a longer pool of employees who are wanting the job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like a rite of passage at working at FedEx, and there's like package handlers working on the inbound sort, and it's like, okay, so we basically done had like the entire university work here at one point or another, and they'll just leave within like a month or two. It's like, yeah, your turnover is trash because your pay is trash. So
Yep. And it is weird because it's a conundrum, because companies want you to buy their products. However, they don't want to pay you as the employee the amount of money so you can actually afford said products. And if company Y does that, X probably wants to do that as well. So is Z. So if all companies do the same tactic, how do people afford products or
yeah,
services or
yeah.
anything? It's like after a while you realize it implodes on itself, and it's like it puts you in a paradox.
But going further down the bipartisan, I mean, let's talk about Marjorie Green or whatever her fucking name is, Marjorie Green Taylor
Oh
something.
boy, the did
That
you?
Mitch McConnell has called a quote unquote cancer,
Oh boy, man.
and
Are you telling me
I,
that
I
somebody?
don't want people.
Oh,
Yeah, hold
sorry.
on. I just want to make sure that people don't get the wrong idea that when I say cancer, that makes Mitch McConnell like a savior, because it doesn't.
Oh
He is a piece of shit in his own
no,
right.
the Turtle Man is called a Turtle Man for a reason. He's not human,
Yes,
but
he is.
but
But
this woman has took it to a whole nother level. Like, come on, the Jewish space lasers. That one took me. That's funny. Just to give people a context of that, with the fires going on, I think it was last year when California was having all of its fires, which California usually does have that because it's a dry climate. And of course, climate change is a thing, maybe, possibly, most likely, yes. Um, and therefore, you get dry, anything can cause a fire in a dry climate. If something just hits, just get a right spark, you can start a fire. She said that people saw a blue flash from the sky, and maybe it was lasers, because the guy I who's the governor of California? I can't remember their name, but anyways, the governor is trying to get the ability to build I think a high, it was not a monorail system, but something similar, like because we're actually trying to get one built here too. Well, we're trying to get one built in Texas. I don't know what happened with that, but anyways, like a train system built. And so, in order to kind of push that through, he enlisted a company who makes space lasers, and they harnessed the energy from the sun and they concentrated it to that area and caused the fire. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. It's so bad that like when SNL hit on it, I didn't laugh once because I was like, the real Marjorie or whatever fucking Marjorie is like
The,
funnier than you.
definitely.
It's just so fucking entertaining. And also like, holy shit, she's on the committee of education. Holy
Oh
shit,
yes.
get her the
How,
fuck out of
that's
there.
what I was like. Wait, I think I said what was my text? I said, "You mean the lady who said space lasers was a thing? Now we want her to be on the education board or committee? Man, hell no! What the fuck? Oh man,
Yeah,
it's like having a lady who believes that public education is terrible and private education is the way to go. Oh shit, never mind. We already had that person.
yeah. I mean, then on top of that, she threatened, um, Nancy Pelosi, not
Yep.
directly, but she did say that traitors are to be
Executed, wasn't it?
are to succumb to the penalty of death.
Yeah, executed. Basically, she want to bring the guillotine out or
Yeah, yeah.
something, or we just gonna bring the gallows.
Mhm. Hey, that's a good
Yeah.
question.
This is also the same
She
woman
called the
who.
Parkland.
No, I was gonna say this was also the same woman who was tweeting out Nancy Pelosi's locations during the riots. But hey, that's just a thing.
Hell, she called the Parkland shooting in Florida a false flag.
Yep.
With the intent of, they said it was disguised with the intent of like getting people to openly be convinced to give up their guns. It's like, bro, like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck
Mm.
is going on?
Oh yeah. And then she also got on my boo. Uh, shit. I just went blank on her name though. Damn. Sorry, ma'am. Um, but she's the one that's Muslim. Well, the two actually.
The one that's what?
The two politicians that are Muslim.
I'm talking about Ilhan Omar
There we
and
go, Ilhan, and there was another one.
you're talking about Rashida Tlaib.
Yes. Oh yeah, remember when she pretty much harassed them because she said that it's by law they had to swear in on the Bible.
I thought it was just Ilhan, but yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was just like looking at that shit. Like, bro, you don't even know the laws. You traveled all the way over there. It's like she was like asking the question open ended to like some white guy who was like standing next to her. That like, hey, that wouldn't have been something that was passed on Republican under Republican control. So yeah, like that couldn't have been a thing. They wouldn't have allowed her to like not put her hand on the Bible. It's like, dude, like you know how you sound fucking loony as shit.
Yes.
And unfortunately, like Trump and the Republican Party has enabled this behavior for so fucking long that it's like all of a sudden they're like surprised, like, oh my god, we got like a religious nut job in here right now. It's like, no shit. You guys enabled this behavior to go on for so long. You didn't properly separate um, government and religiosity, and then you exploited the situations by like tapping into a base of people who believe in conspiracy theories, being sort of Alex Jonesy sympathetic,
Oh
and
boy.
you continue to destroy the budget around education and without providing decent wages to people, trying to like tell them that if you give the profits, if you slash the tax cuts or slash taxes, then it's gonna like trickle down to you, and shit change. And some of these dumb motherfuckers, like they believe this shit.
Hey man,
So
15th
it's like,
time's the
how did
charm.
you not notice it was gonna happen?
You hear me? 15th time is the charm. That's what you got to do. But,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, oh man, unfortunately, this is also funny too because she's a Southern representative, so I think she's from Georgia, and it's like, man, the South already has a bad has a bad reputation when it comes to this. She sure does help, but I don't know what else to say because unfortunately, with the age of DT, we've actually just allowed this type of behavior to continue to manifest, and the idea that everything is fake unless it comes from my favorite person is pretty much being exacerbated across all the interwebs. Um, and, and it doesn't help that, especially with DT being out of office and she's still basically pushing that whole, um, or most of them are starting to backtrack now. Of course, you include Rand Paul and all that, but they're still pushing these conspiracies and pushing this notion that she's the true patriot and fighting for your freedoms, and because the only freedom that people have is the Second Amendment. That's all. Um, Even though half the people, in my opinion, misinterpret the Second Amendment, but whatever. It's now the question is Republicans want to always talk about unity or always want to talk about integrity, or will they allow her to continue to serve knowing how she is? That's going to be my real question. Because if they continue to allow her to keep going and they don't at least convince her to try to dial it back or keep it as sane as possible, they should just be Republicans should just be obliterated. I'm sorry. Like, just make them irrelevant, like the Whig Party or something.
But I don't know. I don't think that they're necessarily going to do that. I mean, you would hope they are, but I have my doubts because she has publicly talked about how her and Trump has had conversations with one another, and basically he is becoming a sort of kingmaker. And I don't think Republicans, the way the Republicans are acting, just impeachment is just. I don't have any confidence in them going after her if they're not willing to go after him for impeachment or even like censure. And speaking of censure or impeachment, because like in a few days we're going to be having our trials, and of course, like a lot of people probably have already seen how one of Trump's top lawyers had already backed out, which that's like a bad sign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, right before the trial's gonna happen, um, your top lawyer like backs out. But I have largely been on the side of like going or holding him accountable. But there was a point that was brought up that I didn't necessarily remember until like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Does this have the potential to like backfire like last time and raising his approval rating, which can catapult him back up into 2024 as a viable contender?
Unfortunately, since I think a lot of people have like this weird brain parasite, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it could, because some people will say it depends on what they try to get him on. If they say that he directly incited these things, then they need to have all their ducks in a row if they're going to pull that. Because I was listening to this one, Legal Eagle is the name of the YouTube channel, and he kind of discussed. He's a lawyer, and he discusses with the idea of saying that you directly incite something is very hard. Now, granted, this is not a full legal matter, and it's more of a political matter, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's like a real legit legal, but even then, people can obfuscate the notion that, well, he didn't tell them to do it. Technically, even though I know he said we're going to go, he could have just been being hyperbolic, and it's like, okay. And so unfortunately, unless you have something directly saying you people here in front of me go to the White House and do blank, it's gonna be difficult. And so it's I don't know how it's gonna work out.
Yeah, some people have even suggested, like, well, don't go the impeachment route. Go ahead and censure him. And out of all people, actually, it was my big boss who brought this up. And it's a legitimate concern. Um, if you remember, Ron Paul did try to summon the votes to have the impeachment trial dismissed,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't able to get the proper votes for that. But what he was saying was, they don't have the votes to proceed on with this, so it's a waste of time. And in a way, he might be right that this can backfire. He needs to be held accountable, but it's I think the Republican Party is so far gone that trying to go for a three-fourths majority to like impeach Trump, that's a long shot. And these pussyfoot Republicans already realize that their party has been deeply integrated by the Marjorie Green Taylor types, or Marjorie Taylor Green, whatever her fucking name is. I don't give a fuck, man. But
Yeah, huh.
it, you got people who are elected officials just like her, and more, who are supporters. So they're in a difficult position where they're going to be like, well, how do I reconcile that? And hey, I'm sorry. Does that sound like a tall glass already handled? Yeah, sure, but you set yourself up for it, bro. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's
And
on you.
and I think that's the problem is the Republican Party has gone so far off the rails. Trumpism is the new Republican Party. I know people like Mitch are trying to somehow stay face, but it's over. This is what happens when you just allow things to manifest. This is what you create. And so they got to sit back and look at the Frankenstein that they help manifest because their complacency helped lead to this. Now, deep down inside, I'm kind of ecstatic because I'm hoping it kind of splitters them to the point that they pretty much become irrelevant. And again, I don't know if I'm that lucky, but that's what I hope. Like I hope all of a sudden they split into like the Trumpists or something along those lines party, and then you have the old GOP. And because the Republican Party has already split before. And I want to say people like from the Tea Party were former Republicans, if I'm not mistaken. And
Wait, repeat
so,
that again?
like, weren't people from the Tea Party former Republicans?
Yeah. I mean, the Tea Party is just like a spinoff or its own splinter of the Republican Party. I mean, they
Yeah,
definitely espouse the same values. The Republicans just basically follow the Tea Party in a lot of things that they believe. So
yeah. And so that's what I'm hoping. Like, split them up again to the point where it becomes who? Yeah, I remember the Republican Party. Yeah, I remember them back in 2020. That was kind of the last or 2022. So that's we kind of heard of them. But now are we that lucky? I don't think. I think they'll just do like most things and just kind of just double down and just roll with it because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
yeah. That's what I'm betting. But hey, man, we got anything else we need to cover? Our, our
Man,
bipartisan episode?
yeah. Oh boy. One, I'm gonna just say this: bipartisanship is bull. And if you really just sit back and think about it, there is no all. There's not always two options to a scenario. Sometimes you just have to do what's best. Like again, just run some scenarios in your mind or just some key legislation and say, is there a bipartisan approach to this? Really? or is bipartisanship just a BS way to keep one party from going, pretty much maintaining power? Because honestly, in my opinion, if Democrats really wanted to, they could pretty much maintain power from here on out if they would like to. But Joey B is, he likes working across the aisle, man. You gotta keep it simple.
Yeah, there's a symbolism of that that's actually true, which is are Republicans? I'm sorry, are Democrats really trying to solidify their win and their control? Because I mean, I'm sorry, but it's a first shot bubble, but I'm just not as convinced about that. You just see how long it's taken. It went from 2K checks. It happened on the day that I had already got my 600. The 600 already passed, and then it went to 1400.
Mhm.
Then it went from the first week or immediate to, I guess we'll get to it in April or whatever, some bullshit like that. We're gonna pass it with a 60 vote threshold, even though they ain't got that fucking vote for that type of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's better to break that shit down.
Yeah,
So how much do they really want it?
yeah. Here's my thing. Republicans. Damn, I'm so used to talking. Democrats remind me of that person who always say they beg for an opportunity. Just give me the chance. I'm telling you, if I can just get this opportunity, and they get it, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I don't know if I really want to do this anymore.
It's like get into the Super Bowl and it'd be like, you know what? I didn't really want to win this shit.
It's cool. You know what? It's cool. We just got here, man. I appreciate y'all. It's like, bro, you do realize we got work to do. Nah. We made it, baby. We good. It's like, yo, fam, you got to do some work. Nah, I'm cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We gonna get credit any fucking way, and that's like how sometimes I feel about this shit. It's like Trump was like so good for fundraising.
Look, here's the funny part. Like, I think I told we talked about this before. It's like Joey B gets in the office telling people he's going to get them the $2,000 checks. Kind of what just exactly what you were saying. Now you negotiate your own self down with having power in all three branches. What are you doing? Like, how do you negotiate yourself down with yourself?
Yeah, man. I don't fucking know how they constantly do this shit, bro.
I'm like, it's yeah, like yo, just like what Birdie said. Hey, man, we could pass this right now. Budget reconciliation. Just all we got to do is get Kamala to sign as the 51st person. Oh man, nah, man. How about those 10 Republicans that said they could work with us? Let's talk to them first. Why, Joe? What's there to talk about?
Why? Yeah. The Democrats, it's almost like the Democrats, they're like in the midst of like robbing somebody. They have a gun pointed to the head of the victim, and then they're sitting there negotiating with the victim. Hey, you got $500? Yeah, but I need that to like pay my rent. Damn. Shit. Well, do you have like $20? Yeah, but I still need to eat. Damn. Shit. Well, I mean, can a nigga hold $5? I mean, I guess.
like,
what the fuck?
Yes, nah, they just like, nah, I just don't want to do that one. It's like, all right, man, you know what? I appreciate the experience, man, because you can't, you know what? At the end of the day, that's what's really important. It's like, come on, man. Oh boy,
know, man. That's just exactly what the fuck they remind me. So fucking sad to see.
But that is the whole, because it kind of gives off the fake unity that you're so willing to talk with people who have different, vastly different goals than you. I mean, unless Joe is basically said, he has the same goals as Republicans, and maybe just come out and say that. Hey, I only ran as a Democrat in name only, or this is the new
Yeah.
Democratic Party. Have fun. But I, and then the fact that Chuck Schumer comes out and says, "Well, maybe we'll get it to you on March or April, somewhere around there." Shit, y'all here, that reminded me of that person that owe you money, but then they gonna tell you when they gonna get it back to you. It's
Yeah.
like, but it's like they intentionally making this stuff harder for no reason. Now, a lot of people also play in to say, that's just how American politics is. You have to basically create opposition for out of nothing in order to keep the rich donors happy. Now, there's nothing to really back that except things that we see. However, it just appears that way. Not calling it what it is, I'm just saying what it looks like. So that's also what I got when Joe was like, "We need a strong Republican Party," because I was like, "Why? What for? What? What does having a strong Republican Party do for American politics? Nothing. Just we need somebody with good opposition and an excuse for why we can't get things done."
Yeah, man. That's the impression I get right here. It's just a big ass show, bro. They low key just like don't really want to give us the shit that they promised us. It's like, oh shit, I'm in power now. Fuck. Well, damn, damn. I mean, maybe it may be a little bit more conspiracy theorist of me, bro. But it's like, damn, bro. Like, motherfucking well, like when it comes to Biden, damn well these people last go around wasn't trying to play that whole power sharing game, reach across the aisle, but damn well, and it's like this whole epiphany shit, dude. This is the same shit that you said during the Obama administration, and that
Yeah,
shit didn't fly. So like, either you are playing, either you have some idealized version of what politics are from way back in your old days, way back in the gap, or you're playing us for a fool.
yeah. I mean, well, I can also say, isn't that kind of what plagued Bernie? Because Bernie didn't want to play hardball. Bernie thought everybody was his friend or good friend in this case. Therefore, he was unwilling to actually play politics. So maybe it's just American politics in general. We have this idea that you always have to be able to work with the next person, even though ideologically they don't mesh well with you.
Yeah, which is what I'm wondering as the chair of the budget committee. I'm wondering if he go play some hardball. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
certainly see if he plays some hardball.
yeah, we definitely will. Also, for all my conspiracy theorist people out there who said that, hey, watch coronavirus go away after November, where y'all at? What happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People. Yeah. Well, coronavirus. I just got like a cold or flu or some shit like that. I'm dying from something else. Type,
Yeah,
bro. Like I, it's like, bro, like you just can't talk these things.
yeah. I just found it funny because I remember I saw an old tweet that was talking about that, and it was like, "Oh, I bet after Corona or after November when the election's over, coronavirus is going to all of a sudden disappear." It's like, nope, you're wrong again. But thanks for playing. It's like, oh man, people are weird, man. Oh, we.
Right, man, we ready to wrap this up, brother?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I just said my piece.
Yeah, until next time, everybody, we go check. So,
Peace.
later.